Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Natural Food Pantry Education Initiative. Joining me today for a discussion on men's health topics is Dr. Kate Rhéaume, Naturopathic Doctor. Dr. Kate Rhéaume is a graduate and a former faculty member of the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine. As a very reputable educator, Dr. Kate speaks internationally on a variety of topics related to health and wellness. She is also the author of the best-selling book, Vitamin K2 and the Calcium Paradox: How a Little Known Vitamin Could Save Your Life. We are fortunate to have Dr. Kate with us as a regular presenter at our Natural Food Pantry education events. Welcome back, Dr. Kate.
Thanks, Natasha. Great to be back with you.
With it being the month of Father's Day, I thought it would be fitting to host this talk on men's health and men's health issues, particularly around energy, stamina, performance, stress, hormones, prostate health. We often talk about the importance of women's health, women's hormones and hormonal balance, but rarely touch on the topic of men's health.
It's true. And, I think that women tend to be more proactive about reaching out about health, but men are starting to catch up and are definitely looking for more information. And it's remarkable what a difference, you can make in well-being with armed with a little bit of solid information about health.
Absolutely. And so I think a good place to start this conversation is with the topic of stress. I mean, no one is immune to stress. Man, woman, doesn't matter what age we are, everybody is faced with pretty chronic stressors these days. And stress has such an impact on many functions in the body, the brain, the hormones, the gut, inflammation, you name it. Now, stress is certainly not unique to men, but sometimes men can experience stress differently. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes, or maybe there is possibly some less awareness of the impact of stress, or a concept of just having to live with it, choke down, whatever, soldier on kind of thing. And you're right, stress is all around us, and certainly the last few years, we've all seen that. And we can't change the stress or the things that are happening to us, but we certainly can change how we react to them. Now, part of that is mindset, but part of that is also physical. In other words, things we can do to bolster our body's stress response, stress resilience.
Absolutely. Are there any specific supplements that men or women can take during times of high stress?
Definitely. There is a whole class of plant-based medicines, botanical medicines that I wish people knew more about. They're called adaptogens, and they're called that because they help us adapt to or cope with stress. And most of these herbal medicines work by helping the body's HPA axis. So that's the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal gland. So that's the connection between the brain and the adrenal glands, or stress organs. Basically help them produce the right amount of stress hormones at the right times of the day so we can respond to stress appropriately. So some top herbs that fall in this department that help men or women, but there's some good reasons for men to choose them, include ashwagandha. That's a big one that has other benefits for men's health, as well as rhodiola is one that I love, one of my all-time favorite herbs, because in addition to physical well-being, it can also provide a boost in mental well-being. And as for number three, really hard pressed, there are so many good herbs in this department. Siberian ginseng falls in this category, as well as eleutherococcus, Siberian ginseng, and probably holy basil is another one. There are so many that will help us manage stress.
There are. The selection on the shelves is pretty diverse. And so that's why at Natural Food Pantry stores, we have a supplement advisor in each one of the stores to help customers out and help them choose what formula or what ingredients might be best for them. Now, going back to ashwagandha, that's a popular one. There's ashwagandha. You can purchase ashwagandha on its own. You can purchase ashwagandha in many different formulas. And I know that it's a herb that is really great at supporting the adrenal glands, improving your body's resistance to physical and mental stress. Can you talk to us a little bit more about how it works in relationship to stress and also with sleep and our circadian rhythm?
Oh, that's a good question because ashwagandha is experiencing a surge in popularity. Of course, this is a herb that's been used for thousands of years in Ayurvedic traditional medicine, but there's also a lot of modern research behind it, and more people seem to be hearing about its benefits for sleep. A lot of people now taking it at night to help improve sleep quality, seems to have that effect and that benefit, but also provides benefit in terms of helping to normalize cortisol levels. So with cortisol, it can be too high, it can be too low. The most important thing with cortisol is that we have a healthy daily fluctuation. I want it to be higher in the mornings and lower as the day goes on. And ashwagandha seems to play a role in helping to maintain that.
Is there anybody that shouldn't take ashwagandha?
Good question. Yeah, if you have significant diagnosed imbalances in your cortisol levels, either too high or too low, it's worth checking in with your doctor or pharmacist before taking that.
Great. And you also mentioned rhodiola. I know it's another popular herb for stress relief or stress regulation, and also for cognition. Can you talk a little bit more about rhodiola?
Yes, I love rhodiola, near and dear to my heart. This is a herb that, like other adaptogens, helps you be more resilient in the face of stress. But it also has this unique property of providing a very gentle lift in the mood. So one thing that happens when people have been through a stressful period or feeling burnt out, for example, is like a slightly low mood or a flat mood. And rhodiola is well known for just providing a gentle boost in the mood.
Beautiful. And I understand that stress plays a role in the production and the regulation of certain sex hormones like testosterone and estrogen. Can you tell us a little bit about those two hormones and their role specifically with men, and why it is that those hormones tend to maybe go out of balance or shift as men get older?
We know that under high stress, that can suppress the levels of testosterone in men. That's a well-established relationship. But, as you pointed out, even as part of the aging process, even as early as 35 onwards, we often see a decline in testosterone in men. That decline in testosterone is frequently paired with an increase in estrogen. So you see this shift between the balance of these hormones. And that can really impact so many aspects of well-being for men. So some of the symptoms of declining testosterone include changes in mood, motivation, can be low mood, irritability comes along with that, as well as changes in body composition, less muscle mass, more fat mass, accumulation of fat, especially around the middle, something called gynecomastia or man boob, sometimes that's referred to. That's especially a symptom of high estrogen. And of course, this can also affect sexual function. So lower sex drive, lower semen volume, which can affect fertility for people who are concerned about that, as well as lower pleasure, erectile dysfunction, all kinds of things in the sphere of sexual health for men.
So what can men do? Are there any specific nutrients or herbs that can help support testosterone and estrogen balance in men?
Definitely. When we already talked about ashwagandha, which has been shown to support testosterone levels and help to raise and boost testosterone. And along with that, there are a few key nutrients. For example, zinc, that's an important mineral that we know is used, the body will use this for testosterone production. It also will help to prevent the conversion. A lot of men don't know this, but testosterone can be converted to estrogen. And so if your testosterone is being converted to estrogen, it's sort of being siphoned off in a way, leading to this imbalance. So zinc helps prevent that conversion. Vitamin D is another nutrient. If vitamin D levels are low, testosterone levels tend to also be low. Hard to get testosterone levels up when either zinc or vitamin D are low. So those are important nutrients too.
And what about indole-3 carbinol? I know that's an ingredient that's found in a lot of women's hormonal balancing formulas. How does this particular ingredient, actually, can you talk to us a little bit about what indole-3 carbinol is, how it works, and why it might be beneficial in some men's formulas as well?
This is a phytonutrient that you will find in cruciferous vegetables. So things in the, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, that family of vegetables. And it has this compound that plays a role in helping to break down, metabolize, and lower levels of unhealthy estrogen. So in terms of, we keep talking about this testosterone estrogen balance, we want to do whatever we can to raise estrogen and raise testosterone and lower estrogen. So indole-3 carbinol helps to break down and remove some estrogen.
Great. And at what stage and age should men start considering their hormones and maybe taking supplements to support this balance?
Definitely, we see this decline in testosterone fairly consistently from age 35 onwards. It's often considered to be quote a normal part of aging, but you want to wonder if that's normal in the context of our highly stressed, maybe not well-nourished society. So from 35 onwards, probably that is a factor, depending on the signs and symptoms that men are experiencing. Maybe that's happening earlier or later, but that's usually a pretty good time to start thinking about that.
Great. And going back to ashwagandha again, I know we brought that one up a few times. Um, I understand it might be involved in muscle strength as well. Is that true?
Yes, so studies have shown a few different ones that ashwagandha helps increase muscle strength and mass. Few studies looking at taking ashwagandha compared to a placebo, men taking ashwagandha showing more muscle mass and less fat mass at the end of the study period. And again, a lot of that is thought to be due to ashwagandha's testosterone supporting effects, and that has benefits for muscle mass.
Excellent. And you touched on libido. I think that's a topic that we should dive into a little more, as it's so important when it comes to relationships, and it's a topic that's often kind of left in the dark. So what happens typically to libido as men and women begin to age and go through the aging process? And what are some of the causes of low libido?
Well, libido can be a complex topic. And of course, there are mental, emotional components to that, relationship components that can, could get complicated. But in terms of the physical side of things, this testosterone decline that we have talked about that can happen as early as mid-30s or earlier, depending on the situation, absolutely makes a big impact in terms of libido for men and women, but especially for men, that declining testosterone will decrease sexual drive. So just motivation, interest in sex, for example, sexual performance, declining erectile function, which then impacts, interest and desire in sex. Even decreasing in testosterone has been linked to genital numbness, so simply less pleasure during sex. And so all of those really impact sexual experience. And so one aspect of dealing with that is supporting and trying to get testosterone levels back up, including, all of the things we've talked about, as well as dealing with stress.
And is it true that aphrodisiac foods, herbs, plants can help in this area?
I am not as familiar with the foods. I mean, some of the foods, things like oysters, for example, yes, they contain a lot of zinc, and that we already mentioned is important for testosterone levels. But I certainly know that there are a handful of herbs that do seem to have decent research as well as anecdotal and clinical evidence behind them that they do, again, usually it's through this mechanism of supporting testosterone levels, and then that helps to restore these symptoms associated with, sexual dysfunction that we see.
I've heard quite a bit about Tongkat Ali. It seems to be a pretty popular herb that is used these days. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Are you familiar with it and how it works?
Yes, I'm familiar with it, and it is one that works by, again, the mechanism here seems to be supporting testosterone levels. Tongkat Ali has that effect in terms of helping with increasing production of testosterone and helping to help the testosterone stick around. So slow its either conversion to estrogen or breakdown. And so again, by maintaining testosterone levels, that seems to be how it has its benefits in terms of libido and sexual function.
What's the best way to use it? When is it best taken? How is it used?
Typically in the mornings, most of the adaptogens that we talk about or testosterone supportive herbs that we've talked about are often best taken in the morning. And we did talk about taking ashwagandha before sleep, that slightly different story, but often in the morning. And again, this is part of our normal daily circadian rhythm. I mentioned there's like a rhythm when it comes to, for example, cortisol production throughout the day. So taking these adaptogens, and especially the Tongkat Ali in the morning, seems to be best.
Thank you. And lastly, with it being such a common concern amongst middle-aged men and older men, I think we should touch on prostate health and disease. Can you tell us a little bit about benign prostatic hypertrophy,
Mhm.
BPH, and what some of the symptoms are?
Yes. So over time, the prostate gland can become enlarged. Now, it's called benign because this enlargement is not a cancerous process. But even though that's not the case, it's not cancerous, it can cause a lot of very problematic symptoms, especially urinary symptoms, things like dribbling after urination, nocturia, or waking up in the night frequently to urinate, which can really interfere with sleep. um, a low stream on the urine, difficulty completely emptying the bladder. There can be complications with that. So there really are a lot of problems that can be associated with this so-called benign prostatic hypertrophy.
And what are some natural supplements, remedies that can be used to help treat prostate health or help
Mhm.
support prostate health?
Yeah, some of the nutrients we already mentioned, things like zinc, for example, as well as specific herbs that will help prevent the conversion of testosterone to either estrogen, which we've already touched on, or to a form of testosterone that is considered to be harmful and may contribute to BPH. So these include things like nettle, saw palmetto, and so these are herbs known to inhibit the enzyme which can convert the testosterone to its harmful form.
Does indole 3-carbinol play a role in this area?
It does, yes, on a few levels. But again, speaking on that in terms of metabolizing estrogen, usually when we're talking about any kind of hormones, it's always a balancing act. And so the indole 3-carbinol does play a role here.
Excellent. Is there anything else you recommend for prostate support?
Well, you know what? Probably the number one recommendation would be getting it checked out, because there's a lot of men who avoid doing that, or wait maybe until the symptoms are starting instead of being proactive. Maybe it's not the most pleasant exam, but getting it checked out early and getting diagnosed early is typically better than waiting until it becomes really problematic.
Thank you. That's a lot of really wonderful, valuable information that can certainly help our male customers and followers. It's always so refreshing, and I find it really inspiring to learn that there are natural things that we can do to help support the body, support the healing process, and help prevent disease. So thank you so much, Dr. Kate, for spending this time with us and sharing your knowledge with our customer base.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure chatting with you, Natasha.
Always. Thank you, everybody, for joining in and listening. For more information about upcoming events, visit our website, naturalfoodpantry.ca, classes and services tab, or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Thanks, everybody. Stay healthy.